Our next presenter is Superintendent Husfeld from Bay District, and I believe Superintendent Husfeld has his board chair here with him. He was not able to come. The executive director, Red, is Melissa Ramsey, who is also our executive director of school improvement.
Do we have a copy of this presentation?
Thank you, Chancellor. Please ask that question, Mr. Grady, when you do your questions. I won't take my time with it about the money for teachers, the extra money for teachers, because we're very involved in that. I'm going to go fast. I've got my clock started because I know I've got the 5 minutes. These two schools are very, very important to us, just like the rest of the schools in our district, but they are unique. And I'm not going to waste time with TNTP. I believe you understand what this organization does. I will point to you the fourth bullet there. It's a three-pronged approach about leadership, academics, and culture that we're contracting with them to come in and assist us in this hybrid plan. Just some size-alike districts. We are constantly trying to look at what other districts are doing, how to improve, where the demographics are the same. Cedar Grove, the principal, and ironically, both principals are here with us today. They wanted to be a part of this. They wanted to see this. They are ingrained in these schools. There's a lot of neat things I can say about them, and I will as we go on. In 2006, just so you'll know some of the demographics in Bay County, because it has changed quite a bit, we've increased 300% our number of Title I schools. The poverty is just overwhelming what we're dealing with right now. 15% of our students are in charter schools. I'm not saying that as a negative, it's just factual. The other districts similar to us, Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, Escambia, Leon, are right at 5%. Santa Rosa is actually less than 1%, so it does have a drain on some of the issues we're dealing with. The two biggest barriers these two schools are dealing with are mobility. It's upward of 50%, retention of teachers, while both schools this year are hiring eight new teachers. Some of those by design. They did non-renew because of their academic record. They are losing some of the good teachers because some of the pressures on them to perform, and they are being lured by some of the charter schools because they are so good. The capacity of the teachers is the main thing in the classroom. Everything that goes on in the classroom is the key, and I think that's a common theme I hear all of you talking about. But you will notice the little graph there on the mobility rate, and it spikes about the beginning of the year. We've got various reasons we can guess that, but it's a rent thing, the change in the population. This tells you real quick, these principles are very powerful in what they do, but let me tell you one thing about Cedar Grove. They have 8 autism classes. They're one of the finest autistic facilities we have. Parents just rave about them. That school climate is so positive. They all get along together. We will send the letters out as required to by DOE and by state statute to allow those parents to have choice. Ironically, we get parents wanting to go into Cedar Grove. And the same can be said about Oakland Terrace, and some of their challenges are different. You will notice the foundation, the significant turnover rate for the teachers there. In fact, one classroom had 4 different teachers. I think the first one of the 4, I can't remember in order, one of the 4's husband got transferred. One of them got a better job offer. One of them had a health issue, and then they got the fourth one in there. The incentive bonus pay negotiated with union is $5,000. This is our 3rd year doing that, and I can talk more about that later if you'd like. The school van data, there's the significance there. We do believe that we are seeing improvement. Here's part of the compelling evidence of that. Here's some more of the information we believe that shows improvement. And then the ELA on the last 3 years, 3rd grade language arts, you'll notice Cedar Grove is up 7 ELA, Oakland Terrace up 5, math, Cedar Grove 20, Oakland Terrace up 8. And we're getting down into data like all the other districts do, and we're doing some of the same things with coaching and assisting. Here is some more compelling evidence, the map data that we're using through NWEA, which we do 3 times a year. You'll notice the improvements in those areas. And the climate survey, and that's one of the main reasons why I believe these principles are integral to the successes of these schools and what I think is going to happen, what we're right on the horizon of. And this will be my last point to share with you because I know my 5 minutes is up. Out of the 8 probably most challenging schools we have in the district, I've changed the principals at 6 of them. I did not, in fact, those 6 that I did change have only been there 2 years or less now. And these 2 are outstanding principals. They are great leaders. They are hard workers. They do make a difference in these children's lives and in these communities. And I believe they are the right fit. I believe that there are evidences that I presented to you that show that they are doing what we are asking them to do. Do they have more to accomplish? Definitely, and I think they'd be the first to agree with me on that.
So, Superintendent, just to be crystal clear, who is the principal at Cedar Grove?
Philip Campbell.
And he's been there how many years?
He's been there 7 years.
And you're proposing that he have another year?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and who is the principal by name at Oakland Terrace?
Lindy Willis.
And he's been there 3 years?
Yes, sir.
And you're proposing another year?
Yes, sir.
All right, just for clarity. So I'll ask my colleagues for their questions. Who wants to go first?
How do the, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
As far as teacher evaluations go in these 2 schools, how many highly effective, so on do you have? What percentage is less than effective, I should say?
None.
None.
They have either been non-renewed, which is what we do with most of those teachers, unless there's something significant that we know that's going on. All of them are effective or highly effective. And like I said, each school is hiring 8 new teachers this year.
Mr. Grady.
And the last question, was that directed to the schools, these 2 schools, or the district?
No, these 2 schools, these 2 specific schools.
What about in the district?
The percentage, I think it's 3 to 4% overall, I believe, based on the VAM data. Now, and just, I know you know this, but I'm going to say this for my own edification. VAM and school grades are not linked.
When the contracts for these 2 schools for ineffective teachers were non-renewed, were those teachers moved to other schools in your district?
No. Now, they can apply, but they are not moved. If they're non-renewed, they are non-renewed. They are without a contract. They can apply and go to another school and get a job. Now, I don't know number-wise how many of them have received that job. I will tell you this, and I believe I know you guys read the same thing I do. It's a national shortage we have of teachers, and so I'm not saying that schools would go out and hire teachers that are less than effective, but I know that the challenges are there for the principals to find the best teachers they can that are available.
Are the principals at these 2 schools also paid some type of incentive?
One of them is. One of them, Mr. Willis, who came from it was an A or a B school. He was part of the executive staff at the district office. He opened up a new elementary school, opened it up. It became a very successful B elementary school. I convinced the board not only to give incentives to negotiate incentives for the teachers, but also for administrators to go to these challenging schools. And Mr. Willis was one of those 3 principals that did that went to Oakland Terrace.
How long have the incentive payments of $5,000 per year been in effect at
Now,
these 2
the
schools?
incentive for the teachers is, I believe this is the 3rd year we've done this. This might not be, you might not want this on record, but we get along with our union very well. I mean, we have a great relationship with our union, and they understand we have a clause in our union that we can move teachers for program reasons, and also we negotiated to give the $5,000 bonus to teachers, if they have a highly effective level VAM score, and if they'll go to some of these turnaround schools. We want to encourage them to do that. The problem is, and I'm going to be very candid with you, the problem with that is how much money will you take to take the headache and heartache, the challenges you have? And sometimes $5,000 just isn't enough. And I'm just being very candid with you. We're looking at upping that now. We're looking at trying to get that because we want to entice those teachers to go to these schools. And I think these principals would tell you that. They use that constantly to say, look, I want you to come to my school and I'll give you this money. And that it's not about the money always. It really isn't. I know. Please don't be upset with me.
More questions. Mr. Chartrand. Oh, sorry. Mr. Grady.
Our job is to determine that there's a reasonable likelihood of success of your plan.
Yes, sir.
I like, as you may have gathered, the concept of paying these teachers more for difficult work, yet you've done this for 3 years in these schools and you still have a 60% and a 75% turnover of teachers. If that continues, what confidence can we have that there will be a change in the performance of these schools, particularly since you are maintaining the same administration?
Well, and we think that the TNTP, and you know, we like the idea of outside eyes coming to look in, okay? Because we really feel, if you walked in, and I'm going to brag on Melissa over here, she's phenomenal. She knows these schools. She's visited them. I know the chancellor has visited with us in the schools. If you were to walk in these schools and just walk around them, you would never guess the school grades they've got. The climate is just so positive, and they're all working so hard. The mobility rate, we believe, of teachers and students is one of the major issues, which is why we want TNTP to come in and look at it, but we also are in the process of starting to talk with the union about increasing that. I don't know what, I've got a strong economics background, but I don't know what that peak price is. I don't know at what amount it gets those teachers to say, okay, it's worth my time and energy and heartache to go over there and try this now. And so we don't know where we are with that. We know we've got to increase it from 5,000 to get them to come more. But the challenge is, to be very candid with you, that if they're at a B or C or an A school, why would I leave there for money? That's what many of the teachers feel. It's just and they've told me that. May I read a very short email from a teacher about this? It's very short, I promise you, Mr. Chair. May I?
Has to be short.
I promise you it is. We sent out,
almost over.
we sent out a district-wide email about performance pay to all elementary teachers, and this is what this is what this teacher wrote back to me. She wrote, "Thank you so much for your quick response," because I've replied to her that she was eligible. "You're right. I was concerned about the teachers at my school being replaced by other teachers transferring in to get the bonus. Our teachers work so hard and are up against so many obstacles like poverty and lack of parental involvement that we have little or no control over. Many teachers have transferred out to schools with better grades, while the ones who stay seem to get punished year after year." And that's just the mindset of the teachers. I'm just being very
Mr.
candid.
Superintendent, we're coming to an end here. In the papers that I received, TNTP was not mentioned. So
It's been updated.
okay. When did you start them, or when will they start work?
They're going to start as soon as you approve this plan.
How much will you pay them?
Yeah, I believe the contract's for $37,000 each school.
For 1 year.
Yes, sir.
And right now, in layman's terms, what do you think they will accomplish that'll get you to a C?
I think what they're going to do, as I said earlier, is come in with an outside vision and look and say, look, here's one thing that you need to do right away. Here's something else you need to do right away. Here's something else that you're doing, but you need to do it this way. I believe that if they are what, and I'm not blaming DOE, but we didn't just decide to get this group. We made some calls, and they said, look, this is a good group you can trust and work with. We believe they're going to come in and help us and guide us in some things that we just might not have thought of yet.
And so you expect them to analyze the situation, make recommendations, and implement the recommendations quickly enough to get to a C?
Well, no, they won't implement them. The implementation's up to us. They will look at it, work with us, and guide us in that implementation. Yes, sir, I believe that.
Okay, any more questions?
Have you thought about, you said the culture of the school is pretty good, so the behavioral issue is not an issue, you don't need a mental health specialist?
They have behaviors like every school, but no.
Okay, so how about extending the day?
The day is extended for both of these schools.
Okay.
With
By
the
1
extra
hour?
reading time.
Just
Yes.
reading time?
Mhm. Beyond what is required, yes, sir.
Yeah, the concern I've got, and you know, your principal, Campbell, been there for 7 years, and you feel like he is the right principal, and is DDFDF, so it went from D to an F, it actually went down, it went from 35 points to 31 points, and I'm just hoping that you're right on that, because he
I'm
hasn't
hoping
gotten
and
a C
praying
yet.
I'm right too, sir. You're right, and I think both these principals realize what's at stake here, and we know, as you've said, and you just said it a minute ago, this is about these kids, and so our responsibility, and it is my responsibility. I believe one of you asked a question earlier: who's responsible? I'm responsible, and as I said, I've changed principals when I needed to. We have 44 schools in our district, and only 4 of those principals I didn't hire. They were there when I got there. I'm not scared to make changes when I really believe they're needed, and I really believe that these 2 people are the right leaders for these schools.
Okay, Commissioner, do you have a recommendation?
I do have a recommendation, and I'm going to qualify my recommendation. I'm making a recommendation to approve the plan by Bay County, and here is my reasoning behind it, because I understand the concerns. As I've talked with our DOE staff, I do believe that the principal most in concern is the one at Cedar Grove, having been there 7 years, and you don't see improvement under that leadership, and yet my understanding is he is very motivated to be there and motivated to do well. And I think with the support of particularly the type of work that is done by TNTP, if the district will support that superintendent and listen to TNTP to be able to do the things they're going to do with our, as the superintendent has already stated, with our regional executive director, Melissa Ramsey, in there to monitor and provide support, I believe that you will see success. I don't know, I really do not know whether or not those 2 schools will be a C in a year, but I believe that if they do what I just described, in the 2 years that is allowed for the hybrid implementation, I do believe that you'll see it change to a C.
So we have a recommendation. Is there a motion?
Is that's a clarification, excuse me, but is this a DMT turnaround, or is this a hybrid?
Hybrid.
They,
'Cause it's
on
not-
that list,
Yeah.
they originally had submitted district managed
Okay,
turnaround,
and then
we
you
worked-
went TNT, and
we
now
went
it's
back
hybrid.
to them
Okay.
and said that
So
will
they've
not
already
work.
taken, yeah. Okay, thank you.
So is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve.
Is there a second? Going once, going twice? Fails for lack of second.
So my hesitation, can I speak? I don't know that I have walked away with clarity about what the root issue is, and with confidence that what we're solving for is going to solve the root issue. I have a lot of confidence in the New Teacher Project. I've seen the work they've done elsewhere, and I believe in them, and I'm so glad that you all added that to the plan for Cedar Grove. I just would love your perspective on, for each of these schools, the 2 or 3 things that you think are at the heart of the problem, and what you think you're doing that solves in these plans those specific issues.
It's going to take more than just a minute to reply to that, so bear with me. Are you familiar at all with Alignment Nashville?
No.
I think Pinellas County or Polk County, somebody's doing this down here, emulating that. For 3 years, we've been working on modeling what they've done. We brought our business community together, and it's called Alignment Bay County. And there's about 35 business leaders, community leaders on that group, and our focus is how do we help from birth to career. and we've come together. Like I said, we've been working on this 3 years. This year was the first year we really did something. We were building it. We're focusing on attendance. Attendance is one of the biggest issues. I think you've heard that from several of the schools. Both of these schools have been tackling attendance with a lot of hard work.
I'm going to, Superintendent, we've had the discussion, and I appreciate that you were trying to clarify in your own mind, but we had the discussion, we had a recommendation, which did not attract a second to the motion, and I think we have to decide from a procedural point of view what we're going to do. We can basically...
Mr. Chair?
We've ended up denying the proposal. Mr. Grady?
I would make a motion to defer approval of this plan for a month. And the areas where I think we need additional information and clarification to follow up on Rebecca's points as well would be, I'm not at all clear on what it is in this plan that is likely to reduce the turnover in the teaching staff in the near term.
Good, so we have a motion to defer. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to defer. That means they would come back by August 15th, and we would get the chance to look at it again.
We're in discussion phase now. Would it be possible to get Mr. Campbell at the podium? Is he here?
Yes, sir.
Would that?
Well, I think
I just don't know. I mean,
I think I'd like to get.
He's basically saying that he feels very strongly that the principal is the right principal.
Well,
they brought TNT in. I don't know what else we're looking for them to do, unless we feel.
I guess what I'd be looking, and I'm inserting myself, I'd be looking for the precise game plan that's going to be implemented with a chance of a C by next summer.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we've got a new motion on the floor from Mr. Grady, which is to defer, and that was seconded. More discussion. Then let's vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3 votes in favor. I'll vote in favor as well.
I'm opposed.
Good. So we defer, and it'll be back.
Just similar to the conversation we had earlier, where we shared, when we deferred, what it was that we were looking for. I think we owe the superintendent similar clarity. And so I think beforehand, Mr. Grady was sharing exactly what he was looking for, and I feel like the superintendent should leave with that clarity. Is that okay?
Except, I guess the little problem that I have personally with that is that we're rewriting their plan. And I think, it's up to them to write a plan that gets our approval.
If I may ask a question, Chair, part of the work that the department staff is charged with is working with the districts on bringing a plan before the board that would be approvable. And I think I would need a little clarity around what is it that's the deficit in the plan so that I can help them. Is it that we expect a new principal in each of those situations in order to call it a hybrid that's approvable? Or is it a different partner? Or what exactly are we looking for so that I can bring something before the board that could be approved?
I think, to give you my answer, my biggest problem is that the 2 principals are proposed to be retained. And I think, every passing year, we got, 500 kids in each school? And this is taking too long. And I've heard all the nice words and the work that's being done, but we don't pay for inputs, we pay for outputs.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if it's the principal or not. The superintendent obviously has faith in the principal, and he seems to have a problem with retaining teachers. That could be the principal's problem. It could be the email that you read. And maybe there's an opportunity to go back to your union and renegotiate to get this plan approved to do a $10,000 bonus. I don't know. I'll just throw that out.
Well, may I ask a question, Mr. Chair? If we got it changed to 10,000, would that make it approved? Because I'm confused. I'm not asking you to rewrite the plan. I just want to know specifically what it is
You're the one that's asking for another year. And
No, he's asking for a hybrid.
He's asked for a hybrid.
He's not
This is
asked
a
for
hybrid.
another year.
He's got the NTP,
And
yeah.
I want to make another point of clarification. Unless this board does something different, the turnaround plan, when they make a different choice, and the board approves that different choice, they have 2 years to implement. They have 2 years to improve that grade to a C. That's outlined in the rule that this board voted on.
Okay, so
I just saw that as a suggestion. I opposed the proposal. I think we should approve the plan. But
I can accept what you're saying, but I'm very confused as to what you want me to bring back, which is what the commissioner said. We're not opposed to redoing anything if we just have a little direction. And
originally you asked for a 1-year extension, district managed, and then with the guidance or a consultation with the department, you changed it to a hybrid, which if we had approved it, it would be 2 years.
yes, sir.
And I think it's just my gut feel, we've already spent too much time. The water, this has taken too long. I mean, we haven't heard that there are terrible behavioral or classroom issues. I don't know. Something doesn't feel right, so that's why I voted.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Grady.
Just succinctly, I can state the reason that I made the motion and what I thought you should bring back to us as part of your plan. What we've heard from the superintendents and what we all know is true is that there are 2 very important aspects of running a school. One is leadership, and that would be your principals, and 2, of course, is the classroom teacher. I see a significant problem with classroom teacher turnover, and I don't see any plan to reduce that. That's a problem to me. The other thing I see a problem with, as has been expressed at length, is leadership. You may be right, but in looking at the statistics and looking at the performance and looking at the grades, I'm not comfortable with that. Maybe you can come back with some additional information about that leadership and explain why it's appropriate and why we should believe that there's a reasonable chance that this will be a C school in 1 year.
I would agree.
Okay, I think we're going to wrap up, and it's deferred until a new proposal on August 15th. And I think it's up to you whether you stick with a 1-year turnaround or a hybrid or whatever you want to do. But you have to give us a new plan.
Thank you, sir.